then we will do the Mangalacharan and then read the text. The text for today is text 5 and 6 of 1.18.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay, let's start.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shya Shri Rupam Sakajadam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvedam Swavadudam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Sapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanjakalpatarubhyascha Kirpa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Shashwin. Thank you very much for the wonderful Mangalacharan recital. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam and we are on Canto 1, Chapter 18. And the text for today, Chapter 18, is called Parikshit, cursed by the Brahmin boy, I think. I don't have the Srimad Bhagavatam with me. Kindly correct me. And the text for today is text 5 and 6. Would anybody like to read the text 5 and 6? Or should we give the honors to Shashwin?
I can read, Mataji.
Or maybe Shashwin can read the Sanskrit, and Prabhuji, if you can do the translation and purport for both the texts, because I don't have the Srimad Bhagavatam with me.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay, Shashwin, can you do the text? First do the text 5, and then Prabhuji, Arya Govind Prabhuji will read the text and purport, and then you can do the text 6.
Okay, Mataji.
Hare
Om
Krishna.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shlokir Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Tavat Kalirna Prabhavet Pravistopiha Sarvataha Yavat Iso Mahan Urvyam Abhimanyava Ekara. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. As long as the great powerful son of Abhimanyu remains the emperor of the world, there is no chance that the personality of Kali will flourish. Purport. As we have already explained, the personality of Kali had entered the jurisdiction of this earth long ago, and he was looking for an opportunity to spread his influence all over the world. But he could not do so satisfactorily due to the presence of Maharaja Parikshit. That is the way of good government. The disturbing elements like the personality of Kali will always try to extend their nefarious activities, but it is the duty of the able state to check them by all means. Although Maharaja Parikshit allotted places for the personality of Kali, at the same time he gave no chance for the citizens to be awarded, to be swayed by the personality of Kali. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Shashwin, can you please read the next text?
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yasmin anyarhyeva Bhagavan utsasarjam tadaivehanuvrittosav adharma prabhavah kali. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Arya Govind Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. The very day and moment the personality of God, Lord Sri Krishna, left this earth, the personality of Kali, who promotes all kinds of religious activities, came into this world. Purport. The personality of God and his holy name, qualities, etc., are all identical. The personality of Kali was not able to enter the jurisdiction of the earth due to the presence of the personality of Godhead. And similarly, if there is an arrangement for the constant chanting of the holy names, qualities, etc., of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no chance at all for the personality of Kali to enter. That is the technique of driving away the personality of Kali from the world. In modernized human society, there are great advancement of material science, and they have invented the radio to distribute sound in the air. So instead of vibrating some nuisance sound for sense enjoyment, if the state arranges to distribute transcendental sound by the resounding the holy name, fame, and activities of the Lord, as they are authorized in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then a favorable condition will be created. The principles of religion in the world will be re-established, and thus the executive heads who are so anxious to drive away corruption from the world will be successful. Nothing is bad if properly used for the service of the Lord. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Shashwin and Hare Krishna Arya Govind Prabhu. Thank you very much. I think Mataji has joined. Panchali Mataji, Hare Krishna. I'm using my phone, so
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sashwin, and thank you very much, Arya Govind Prabhuji, for reading the text so beautifully. So thank you very much to all of you for giving me this opportunity in such a holy month to be able to serve the Lordships and to be able to serve Purushottam and to be able to serve all of you. Again, if I do make any mistakes, please do correct me. I'm here today with the mercies and with the blessings of my Guru and all my Shiksha Gurus. As well, and with all your blessings. So with all your permission, we'd like to discuss Canto 1, Chapter 18, verses 5 and 6 today. Om Jnana Timirandhyasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tashmai Sri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishta Naputam Vena Bhutale Ram Viprakadamayam Dadati Prakadantikam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pachta Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Srinivadi Pashata Deshatarine Jai Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Siva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so the verses today, so they are very, very related. So obviously, it's there's a sequence of how things have been happening. What we will do today is I've put the discussion together in form of a few bullet points and a few topics which we will be discussing today. We'll start off with a few minutes of recapping to bring us into verse 5. We'll talk about the nature of Parikshit Maharaj, which is directly related to verses 5 and 6, and how Kali was able to come and what we can do and can't do. We'll talk a little bit about the very important idea and a very important point around surrendering that runs throughout our Vedic Shastra, throughout our Shastras, and which the Lord and our Acharyas have been teaching us over and over. We'll talk a little bit about what happened, the nature of Kali, and how Kali has entered and wanted to enter into the world after Lord Krishna left this material world. And lastly, as is discussed in verse 6, we'll talk a little bit about what we can do to counteract the effects of Kali Yuga. Okay, so we start with a little bit of recap of how in the previous chapter Maharaj Parikshit was furious to see Kali Yuga, the personality of Kali, as he's been introduced to us as abusing dharma or religion, and how Maharaj Parikshit got extremely angry and wanted to even kill Kali. And then we see how the personality of Kali surrendered to Maharaj Parikshit, and Maharaj Parikshit gave Kali Yuga 5 places to be able to stay, not everywhere else, and that being what we follow today as the 4 regulative principles, is places where where there's gambling, where there's meat eating, intoxication, or illicit sex. And the 5th place being Parikshit Maharaj says, okay, wherever there is exchange of gold and people have gold and engaging in the enjoyments of having gold, you are able to stay there. And there's a reason for that, as to why these places were given to Kali. And we see the plan of Parikshit Maharaj in giving these places and why he did that. And that is what leads us into the nature of Parikshit Maharaj. So obviously hearing all of this from Sutta Goswami, the sages of Naimisharanya, they were they were very impressed to hear more and more about Parikshit Maharaj. They've been hearing about him all this time, but obviously the way he treated Kali and how he was able to put down Kali so easily, whereas the sages have been trying for thousands of years, they've been trying to find a solution as to how to delay or how to counteract the effects of Kali. On hearing how easily Parikshit Maharaj was able to take control of Kali, they were very impressed, and they wanted to hear more about him from Sutta Goswami. And that is when Sutta Goswami started talking more about the birth and the birth of Parikshit Maharaj and how he came to his end. And so we get a glimpse. We've been getting a glimpse of Parikshit Maharaj throughout, and but we also get another glimpse of him over here as to this is a Maharaj. This is a king who has seen Krishna, or who had seen Krishna even when he was in his mother's womb. So he was born as Mahabhagavat. He was already aware of, of having seen Krishna, of knowing the absolute truth. He grew up as a great devotee. He knew the right from the wrong. He was a practicing great devotee. So he knew the purpose of life. He knew what is the difference. He knew the answer that the sages asked right at the beginning, you know, who are we? What is the purpose? Why are we in this material world? What is our relationship with God? What, you know, where is he? Why does he come to this material world time after time for, you know, with his, in various incarnations? Parikshit Maharaj already knew these answers. Okay, so it's not that he didn't know, and he was completely conversant of the fact that this material life is very, very temporary. But he also, you know, this is someone who was able to averse death when even in his mother's womb, and Krishna protected him. So he could easily have averted the curse that Shringi had given him, and could have lived forever. But he immediately understood the will of God. That is the nature of Parikshit Maharaj. So he immediately understood the will of God, that this had to happen, and that he was given 7 days to live, and there was a purpose to it. Okay, so this is once again, we get a glimpse of Parikshit Maharaj. So when the sages ask at the beginning of this chapter, when the sages are, you know, really surprised again to hear and really impressed with Parikshit Maharaj's nature, so we get another glimpse, and Sutta Goswami tries to tell the sages about his birth and death again. So we get another small glimpse of, you know, how great a personality Parikshit Maharaj was. And because he was such a great personality, that is the reason he was able to control Kali so very easily. Now, one thing, when he did control Kali, one thing that came up was that he also forgave Kali. And why did he forgive Kali? And this is something, a point that comes over and over and over and over again throughout our Shastras. Parikshit Maharaj was almost about to kill Kali, but he forgave Kali because Kali, the personality of Kali, surrendered unto him. And this is what comes to us over and over again, surrendering. Okay, in the last chapter, Krishna, in the whole of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells or gives Arjuna all the rules and regulations, all the do's and don'ts, all the yeses and no's of doing things or not doing things. And then right at the end, you know, he says, you know, if you can't do anything, just surrender unto me. Sarvadharman parityajan mam ekam sharanam vraja. He says, just surrender unto me and I will take care of everything. Just do your actions. Do your actions according to Dharma without thinking about, you know, the result, and just surrender unto me. Okay, we see over and over again how you know Draupadi was saved when he surrendered unto to Krishna. How the elephant Gajendra was saved when he surrendered to Krishna. How even you know all the devotees, they are saved so many times over and over again. Even someone as Jagai and Madai. Such fallen personalities, when they surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord, they are forgiven. And because Parikshit Maharaj was a Mahabhagavat, he understood the will of the Lord. He understood how important surrendering is. And so when Kali surrendered to him, he did forgive Kali, although Kali is not the right personality. So we see again a glimpse of the fact how in every chapter, in every other chapter, the word surrender or the idea of surrendering is brought to us over and over again. And Sutta Goswami and Vyasadeva, they are trying to tell us that that is the most important thing. You know, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but what you really want is that loving surrender to Krishna, and that will give you everything. And that is the key word. So we see another glimpse of that right at the start of this chapter. And then in chapter, in verse 5, when we come to verse 5, we see how the verse talks to us about what Kali really is trying to do. Okay, now this is Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga, it's creation of Lord. It is the creation of Lord. So it had to happen. And the personality of Kali was always around. He came as soon as Krishna leaves the material world. He came as soon as Krishna left the material world, but he was unable to live, or unable to entice people, or unable to gather people in his grasp more and more, whilst Parikshit Maharaj was ruling. So Kali was there. So we think about Kali. So what was wrong? What is wrong with Kali? So Kali came just as Maya Devi. Maya Devi is a great devotee of the Lord, and we often think that, oh, we are in the clasp of Maya Devi. We are, we should Mahamaya. We should stay away from her, and we should not. We should never ever pray to her. We should just look upon Mahamaya, or we should look upon Maya Devi with disgust, or with disgrace, or with not in a very friendly way. But we forget that Mahamaya, or Maya Devi, is a part of Krishna, is the external energy of Krishna, and is a great devotee of Krishna. And she is in this material world serving Krishna by putting the jivas in trouble, so that they are in trouble, and through the trials and tribulations of life, over and over and over and over, they realize that this life in this material world is not worth living in. And they are slowly and steadily, over and over, through various lives and various challenges in life, they are reminded slowly and slowly of the spiritual world, and of wanting, and they get the desire in themselves to go back to Godhead again. So Maya Devi, by giving us pain, she actually is doing a service of pushing us and probing us to remember our original constitution of going back to Godhead. Just like, Prabhupada so many times gives us the example of having a bitter medicine, but it tastes bitter, but it is actually for our good, for a healthy living. And so similarly, Kali Yuga, Kali is also Krishna's creation. So it is the nature of Kali Yuga to be an age of quarrel, an age of kalaha, as it says. Kali Yuga, Kali is kalaha, or quarrel, an age of where people would, that the first instinct of people would be to have a dispute for the smallest of reasons, whereas by default, people in, say, Satya Yuga, it decreased over the yugas, but whereas by default people would want peace in the earlier ages, when it comes to Kali Yuga, you can see that there is the overwhelming propensity to quarrel, or to have a dispute, or to have that feeling of, no, I am right, and the other person who's saying things to me is not right. And so immediately there is that friction, there is that kalaha, and there is that quarrel that starts. World starts in the family, goes to the community, society, wider society, the whole world. It just increases over and over again. So the purpose of Kali is really to entice people to get into this quarrel, and it is only doing its task of doing of that. Okay, and so you would think that Kali is a bad person, but again, Kali is also doing its duty. And Kali is also reminding us that, you know, how very important it is for us not to live in this world of Kali, and how very important it is to remember God. Okay. Now, then in the 5th verse, we see a lot about how is Kali able to entice people so much. So so Kali is always going to try. Okay, but during Maharaj Parikshit's rule, because Maharaj Parikshit ruled very cleverly, did not allow Adharma to come into his kingdom, Kali wasn't able to, wasn't stable during Maharaj Parikshit's time. Even the 5th place where Maharaj Parikshit said, you can go and stay where there is, you know, there is an abundance of gold. What Maharaj Parikshit did was he used all that gold that he had for serving the Lord. And when we talk a bit later of how we counteract Kali Yuga, we will see that what a masterpiece this was in how to utilize your wealth in the right way. So, so Maharaj Parikshit, during his time, people were not able to get into the clasp of irreligion or Kali, or they did not get to act in a sinful way. So that was the problem. But how does Kali influence people as time goes on? Kali has many ways of doing that. Kali has his own, you know, Kali has a set plan, never-ending set plan. But some of the things which we can see, as is mentioned in the verses, is Kali uses influence quite a lot. And we know how influence works, both in the wrong way and in the right way. We see so many examples. So say the first influence could be, you know, people. We are talking about Maharaj Parikshit. He was a good influence on his people, and he stopped Kali Yuga or wrongful things from influencing his people. But we see how association or wrong association can actually destroy people's lives. We have seen we can take so many personalities over the ages. We can think, I was just thinking about it, you know, thinking about the character of Karna in Mahabharata. Now, he was Danveer Karna. He had so many good qualities in him. And you're kind of piqued a bit, and you're kind of intrigued a bit to think, had he not been in the influence of Dhritarashtra, of Duryodhana, could he have turned out to be a better person? Could he have come over to the path of right? So a question we can always ask ourselves. We see how Uddhava, when Krishna wanted Uddhava to go to Vrindavan, because Uddhava was very knowledgeable. He was full of gyan. He was a disciple of Brihaspati, the guru of the demigods. So Uddhava was full of knowledge. And Krishna wanted him to go to Vrindavan. So obviously Krishna gave Uddhava the reason that, you know, I'm missing the people of Vrindavan very much. Please bring me the news of my parents and the gopis and the gopas. But he also, because Krishna talked all the time about the people of Vrindavan, Uddhava, the man of knowledge and a great devotee of Krishna, he would always think that, you know, what is there in the the Vrajavasis, they haven't studied so much. They don't have so much ज्ञान. So what does Krishna really see in the Vrajavasis? And then he visited Vrindavan. And he could see just a tiny bit of influence, just talking to the people of Vrindavan, just looking at, Mother Yashoda, who didn't even, light the fire for so many years since Krishna left and didn't even want to do any more butter. Just looking at Nanda Maharaj and how he was just sitting in without any purpose in life, just looking at the gopis crying, just looking at Radharani not even combing her hair for years and years and years since Krishna left. Uddhava could see just a tiny bit of association with real devotees. Uddhava's heart, that heart full of knowledge, turned into the heart full of love. So the Gyan Yoga, which he perfected in, started understanding the Bhakti Yoga of the Vrindavan Vasis, of the people of Raj. So we see how important influence of people is. We see that just a couple of years ago, there was this famous footballer. I'm not sure if many of you might remember the advert. There was this famous footballer who came to a press conference, and as is always the case, before an athlete comes, because he has to speak a lot to the press, there are drinks kept in front, and this footballer came, and in front of his seat, there was a couple of bottles of Coca-Cola, and there was a bottle of water. So when he came and sat down on his seat, the first thing he did was he removed the bottles of Coca-Cola, and then he said, "Just water for me." And then immediately after that, the share prices of Coca-Cola, they just dropped drastically. Coca-Cola came, they incurred a huge loss within hours, within days, because an influential person rejected their product and then chose water. So there was something bad rejected for something, just water. So you see how people can influence. And Kali Yuga, one of the things that Kali really, really banks on is how people can influence others. Okay, so it can be an influence in the family. So, we see it can be a good influence, it can be a bad influence. It can depend on personality as well. That the very wicked Ravana could not influence his brother. What was his brother who was on Rama's side? Does anyone know?
Vibhishan.
Vibhishan, yes, Mataji. So the very quick, cruel brother, he couldn't. But at the same time, Ravana also had the other brother, Kumbhakarna. Okay, so, and you see in the family, the brothers or the sisters or close family, close friends, you've seen so many instances where people have gone into colleges or universities, come in association with bad friends and stopped studying, got into drugs and just literally wasted away their lives. So this is one of the things that Kali really banks upon, influence, how people can influence others. Okay. Now, the other thing that Kali really banks upon is many people doing the same thing. So if you see a group of people, just, a very popular TV program, and people are always talking about it, and to be in the popular group, you really want to know about that TV program because the people are always talking about it. And if you do not know anything about it, then you are an outcast. you're not included in the group because you do not have that knowledge of something that most people are liking nowadays. So you kind of feel like, and you know, I'm not here. And we realized, especially during COVID, we realized just how much of a social animal we are. We really need to talk to people. We can't survive just being, you know, being by ourselves on our own. That is the nature of human beings. We are social animals. So that longing to belong to a group sometimes attaches people to wrongdoings. So whether it is, you know, being together in a group and then, you know, all the friends are practicing bad habit, whether it is gambling or drinking or meat eating or whatever, you know, that is it, because everybody's doing it. That is the popular culture. That is what is wanted. That is what is recognized by society. So let's just do it. And there are just so many examples, you know, we see during election times, so many people are convinced because there's a popular opinion and people listen to others, and whatever is the popular opinion, sometimes people tend to vote for that particular person if they are more popular. We see, and this is you know, I've seen it in my own life, where a vegetarian family, their young, you know, their children go to school, and because they go to school in the West, and you know, in nurseries and in primary schools, they are school lunches are provided, and then especially if it's a private school, you know, they provide you with lunch and meat is offered. And because the children have to eat, they have to grow up, the children are taught, and the parents don't mind that the children are eating. The parents don't eat, say, beef, but because beef is very popular, especially in the West, and they're offered, and the kid has to grow up in the West, the parents allow that, because that is the popular culture. And this is one way in which Kali really is really captures people. And this goes back to right back to the mode of ignorance that we are in this age of Kali. We do not know the right from the wrong. And we often get into something thinking that we are doing the right because most people are doing it, without realizing whether what most people are doing it, how do we gauge that as right or wrong? What tells us that what most people are doing is the actual right, and what very few people are doing is the actual wrong? So that is where Kali really captures us, because Kali bewilders the mind, and discourages people from going back to the gurus or shastras or the actual Vedic text, or finding or being inquisitive of what our true dharma is. And Kali influences us to forget dharma. So that is how Kali captures people as well. Another way that Kali captures us is how, you know, the places we stay in, you know, whichever, as I said, you know, we can stay in, you know, in the West, it's very easy to come in the grasp of Kali. If you're in places where there's more Krishna consciousness being practiced, or many places in India, you know, although India and various cities in India, you know, when I go there on holiday nowadays, I don't even recognize, you know, the things you read about India. And I spent quite a few years of my life in India. When I go back to India, I don't recognize it's just changed so much. But but there we go. That is it, you know. But some places get influenced by what others are doing, and if there is something popular on TV or movies or Hollywood movies or people in the West doing something, you know, things are very different. So I mean, when I see my brother and I, most of the time we have been in the West growing up, very, very different from what our parents came up with, you know, when they were being brought up by their by our grandparents. So culture and the way things are, you know, it depends a lot on the place as well, because there is that collective influence of society that this is right or that is wrong. So you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. So we have to be really, really thankful again to our parents and our family who have encouraged us to not completely forget about Krishna. We are all full of sins, and that is the reason why we need to surrender to Krishna every single day. And then just tell, I mean, that's what, you know, I've heard in my family, you know, it's my parents or my grandparents telling us, you know, just tell Krishna that you are a fallen soul, but Krishna, whatever I am, whoever I am, Krishna, I'm a fallen soul, but I am yours. Please accept me. So in this Kali Yuga, that is the only way, you know. In every single step, we fall and fall and fall every single second. So all we have to do is just talk to Krishna. Krishna is a person's person. Just talk to Krishna and say, I am fallen, Krishna. I know I am. But whatever I am, whoever I am, Krishna, I belong to you. Please, please accept me the way I am. And Krishna will open his arms, you know, he'll be happier than happy to accept us just as we are. So that's one way. So that is how Kali really, really takes advantages of circumstances. So when we come towards the end of verse 5, Prabhupada, in the purport, Prabhupada says that, you know, Kali will try its best to extend the nefarious activities in various ways. Nefarious activities, wrongful or devious activities, Kali will try, because that is Kali's dharma. That is the task that the Lord has assigned to Kali. So Kali is just doing its task, and Kali's task is to engage people in wrongful ways and wrongful activities. So then in verse 6, we come across how can we counteract Kali. You know, sometimes the temptations are just too much, but we must, so we know we are in the age of Kali. So should we just give up? Because are we just fighting a losing battle? And we say, okay, it's just like, you know, if there's an army with very few soldiers and an army with lots of soldiers, so you know, do the army with the fewer soldiers, do they just give up and say, what's the point? And we are like that, you know. Kali, the influence of Maya and Kali, they are the Lord's energies. Okay, they are way, way, way more ferocious and more powerful than our mere individual souls, individual jivas. But do we just give up? Because sometimes the temptations are just too high. But what we are advised through the Shastras is that, and what this verse also advises us, is that no, we mustn't. Because we just need to follow what is right. Okay, so even if we do fall in, so there are two ways. The first, we fall under the temptation. We fall under temptation, we end up doing wrong things, really wrong things, what is not advised in the Shastras, or what is not advised, what is just, you know, basic right or wrong. We do that and we are completely okay with that. We are in that world of ignorance where we do not even realize that we have done something wrong. But on the other hand, if we are practicing Krishna consciousness, or if somehow we get in touch of, gurus or books, and we kind of know that, drinking or doing drugs or doing, this, or being cruel to people, or doing crime, or doing this, doing that, even, being quarrelsome for no reason, any kind of injustice, or so many other ways, so temptations, for me, it's like eating chocolates. I just don't know how to give up that temptation. I tried that so many times. And then, so we kind of think and then you do something wrong, but your consciousness pricks you. So the second type is when you do something wrong, but you know immediately in your heart and soul and in your mind that you actually haven't done something right. And our gurus say that is some progress. So you've progressed from doing something wrong and not caring about it at all to doing something wrong, but realizing that you haven't really done something right. You have done something wrong. So keep on practicing Krishna consciousness. Keep on hearing about Krishna. Keep on hearing about what is the actual right and what is the actual wrong. Not what people say are right or wrong, but what is the actual right and what is the actual wrong. And it really starts at the individual level. It starts at the individual level, and then only it can progress onto the whole society. So, we've seen Mahaprabhu come in this in Kali Yuga, and he starts with the individual of Harinam. He starts, he had few followers initially, and then that grew and grew and grew, and he established how the Harinam Sankirtan, or the name of the Lord, is the Yuga Dharma, or something that can really save us, in this age of darkness and Kali. And we know the famous words of Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam, Kalo Nashti Eva, Nashti Eva, Nashti Eva, Gatir Anyata. There is no other Gati, there is no other way of overcoming this dark age of Kali without the name of Krishna. And whereas in the material world, everything is very relative, isn't it? So my name as Panchali is very different to who I am. My name can be detached from me. I can be given a different name. My clothes are different from me. So, you have that famous video in ISKCON where children are asked to define who they are. Some people point at themselves like this. Some people point at their hands. But who really are we? Are we our hands? Are we our feet? Are we our throats, our back? Who are we? We are not able to define ourselves properly because everything is relative to us in this material world. Some people who live, some people who have a telescope might say, oh, this planet, that's a huge planet, because they are seeing things through lenses. Others who do not have a microscope or a lens or a telescope, they say, oh, that's a tiny planet. Very, very relative. But the Lord is absolute. The Lord is an absolute. There is no difference between the Lord, his form, his name, his everything. So when we in Kali Yuga, what this verse is teaching us again is the way to counteract Kali is by just surrendering unto the Lord in any form. First and foremost, listen to Mahaprabhu, go on and do the Sankirtan, do the name of, take the name of the Lord. There's a very, very famous verse, and I'm trying to find that where it is. Yes, it is in the Padma Purana. It says, it's also included in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. It says, Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnahaschuta Nitya Mukta Bhinatman Nama Naminoho, meaning the holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by material qualities, there is no question of it being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself is identical. So we see how important the name of Krishna is. And we are in Purushottam month. It's a name, it's the Krishna, it's a month. It's not a month. We think it's a month, but it is not a month. As Krishna tells the Pandavas and Draupadi, because they did not respect Purushottam month. So Krishna, whilst when the Pandavas, they were really suffering in the forest, and they asked, Krishna goes to visit them once, and they ask Krishna as to why they're suffering. And Krishna tells them, that is because you have ignored Purushottam month. You haven't paid extra respect to Purushottam month, because Krishna has given his everything to this month, to the deity of this month. Krishna married her when the deity was crying, and because the other months were calling her Malmas, mas that can be, there's no proper titi, no proper good dates in this month. And the deity of this month went to Lord Vishnu crying, and then Lord Vishnu took her to Lord Krishna in Golaka. And Krishna said, Krishna married her, and Krishna said, I'm giving you my everything. I'm giving you my name. So when we think of Purushottam month, it is just not a mere month. And remembering the fact that Krishna, it is the month, Krishna marries the month, it's the consort of Krishna. So we are going back to the roots of Krishna consciousness. The consort, who is the consort of Krishna? Radharani. All the female forms, they come from Radharani. So we are talking about, just as Kartik month, it's the month of Radharani, and it's so much of a favorite to Krishna. Similarly, this month, it's the Lord has not only given the name himself to this month, but he's also, it's favorite because it's his consort's month as well. And it's just 1,000 times more beneficial to us if we do something. So Krishna tells the Pandavas, you have disrespected this month, and that is the reason you're suffering. Krishna tells Draupadi, in your previous life, as the daughter of the sage Madhavi, when your father died and you were crying because you were left by yourself, and you wanted to get married, Durvasa Muni came as your father's friend. Durvasa Muni came and advised you to pray during the month of Purushottam, and the Lord will give you a boon and give you a good husband. But you insulted the month. You did not believe in Durvasa Muni. And so you've got that curse. And then Durvasa, you've got that, nobody is able to get away by disrespecting the absolute truth of Purushottam. And Draupadi, and then there is the pastime of how she prayed to Lord Shiva, and then when Lord Shiva came, she prayed for a husband, but in her excited form, she talks about, she says, I want a husband 5 times. And then she retracted, and Lord Shiva says, I've given you the boon, you will have 5 husbands, and you've also disrespected, insulted Purushottam month, so you really have to suffer. However, because you have prayed to me so much, what I can do is, instead of you suffering all of that, this in your life, this in this life, I can defer it. I can defer it to your next life. So in her next life, she was born as Draupadi, she got her 5 husbands, and she also had to suffer quite a lot with those, because she was married to the 5 husbands, because they were going through that hardships. So Krishna tells them that, you know, how disrespecting Purushottam month is wrong. So we see we talk about this month, it is really not month, it's Radha and Krishna together. It is the Lord himself. He is non-different from his name and his form and anything that he assigns himself to. So one way of this verse also teaches us that, you know, whatever form of life we see of Krishna, whether it's the book form, the name form, you know, devotees associating with Krishna devotees, we just attach ourselves to that, because that is the way we can get free from the clutches of Kali. Now, Kali, just as Mahaprabhu said, you know, because Krishna is absolute, and when Krishna does not fall under the clutches of Kali, Kali is Krishna's creation. So if you come under the shelter of Krishna consciousness in anywhere, in any form, okay, the clutches of Kali will not be able to get a grasp of you. Okay, we see just like, you know, you have an embassy, a foreign embassy in a different land. So you have, so I live in the UK, and there is an, you know, there is an Indian embassy over here, but the Indian embassy, they do not fall under directly under the UK rule, despite the fact that they are in the UK, based in the UK. Similarly, all people who practice Krishna consciousness in any way, in any form, okay, despite living in this dark and quarrelsome age of Kali, they are immune to the effects of Kali. They can, you know, they can escape the effects of Kali. But how do we do that? And Prabhupada also mentions that in the verse. We can't do it once or twice. It's nitya dharma every single day. It's not like, you know, if you have an illness and you're prescribed a tablet to have every single day, you need to have that every single day to maintain your healthy life. Similarly, to maintain a healthy life in this age of Kali and escape the bad influence of Kali, we need to practice this Krishna consciousness every single day. We need to say the name of the Lord every single day. We need to remember Krishna every single day. We need to not forget Krishna every single day. We can't just, it is not nimitta duty, it is nitya duty, it is every single day. And that is how, you know, so it starts from the individual, but it's not just the individuals, it's the governments as well that they need to do that, you know. And Prabhupada gives the example of radio. You know, so if radio, or nowadays we have social media, we have billboards, we have so many different ways of doing things now, of advertising things. If the governments, like Parikshit Maharaj, if the governments do not control the people, do not advise the people in the right way, do not use the things in the right way, all these things, whether it's radio, TV, social media, they can be all used in the right or the wrong way. But because the governments are ill-advised nowadays, okay, they do not follow they have their own selfish hankerings, so they do not follow the path of dharma, and because of that, Kali is more and more increasing its power on people. So it starts with the individual, but it grows and grows, and it takes over the whole society. And right at the helm of society are the various governments. So if the governments are not controlling what is broadcast through the radios, as Prabhupada says, there is no way to control society, and there is no way to control individuals. But where the governments are able to do this, and if they are doing it the right way, just as Parikshit Maharaj was able to keep away Kali from entering into his kingdom, where the governments can do this, Kali will not have a place there. And that is where Krishna consciousness will win and protect us from this age of Kali. So that is what verse 6 tells us. So verse 5 talks about how Kali can influence us, and verse 6 tells us how we can counteract the age of Kali, or the bad influence of Kali. Okay, so with that, I take your permission to conclude this discussion. Okay, thank you very much for bearing with me. And if there are any mistakes, please do correct me.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for this wonderful session on what the influence is and how we can correct it, and the role of Maya in our lives, and the herd mentality that people have, that so-and-so is doing it, so we all do it, and forget what is really the essence of Krishna consciousness. And our association is so important. And furthermore, the importance of Purushottam month you highlighted, and even personalities who have disrespected the Purushottam month have been punished. So thank you so much for all that. Are there any other questions or comments? I know we have exhausted our time. So today, yes, yes, yes.
I just wanted to say, I really like what Mataji said about speaking to Krishna and saying to him, I am a fallen soul, and really talking to him. I think that is a wonderful way of surrendering to him. So that really, I take that away quite a lot today. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you very much for that comment, Mataji. We have with us Path Prabhu today. Prabhuji, is it possible for you to end the session today? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you very much, Mataji, for your nice and such a wonderful class. You are covering so many topics like Kali Yuga and also how to overcome the influence of Kali. And Parikshit Maharaj also, he knows the Krishna's plan. And Kali Yuga also, although one side it is very difficult and it is harmful and it is and not auspicious, but another part we can see in the small effort in this Kali, we can overcome in this challenge, or we can cross this material world. In the same Bhagavatam, in the 12th chapter, 12th canto, it was talk, Kalo dosha nidhi rajan asti eka mahan guna, Krishna nanda Krishnasya mukta sangha param praje. So that is the more important. Although there is so many difficulties and so many adverse, but one good quality is that only by the chanting of the Krishna's name, the Harinam, we can getting the same benefit and we can go back to Godhead. So thank you very much, Mataji, for your nice class. Really, it's a very good class. Also, thank you very much, everyone who is joining here. Although after a long time, I joined here because there are so many schedules is going on in temple because the Purushottam month, and many devotees are coming to the temple, and there is so many house programs and other programs. So maybe I'm difficult to join, but whenever I got time, I will join here. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also, I request everyone, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of Hare Grace Panchali Kar Mataji. Please join. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Vancha Kalpa Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Her Grace Panchali Kar Mataji ki jai. Hari Bol.
The opportunity to
Very
answer this. Very
Thank you,
Very
Mataji.
good. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for ending the session.
Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Thank you very
Krishna.
much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.